Okay, picture this. A guest speaker is standing at a podium during a graduation ceremony at the University of Central Florida. She looks out at this massive sea of eager young faces and declares, "The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution." And what happens next? Well, the entire crowd of students instantly erupts into loud, undeniable booing. Right, let's dive into this. Because that stunning, viral reaction perfectly captures the intense, real-world tensions surrounding AI right now. We are officially past the honeymoon phase, you guys. We've entered an era defined by fierce global competition, deep public anxiety, and some incredibly high-stakes geopolitical maneuvering.
Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm going to be stepping into the role of your resident technology analyst to break down exactly what is happening behind the curtain of this revolution. We're going to decode the intersecting forces that are actively defining the AI era, making all these complex moving parts crystal clear. Because, we aren't just looking at algorithms today. We are looking at power, money, and global dominance. So here's our roadmap. 1. Corporate clashes and AI dominance. 2. The regulatory paradox. And 3. The global AI chip war. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Corporate clashes and AI dominance, specifically focusing on the profit motive. If there was any lingering illusion that AI giants are just altruistic charities, that idea essentially died in an Oakland courtroom recently. It was a dramatic legal fight between Elon Musk and OpenAI's Sam Altman. Remember back in 2018, Elon Musk actually donated nearly $38 million to OpenAI, and the whole premise was that it would operate as a nonprofit for the good of humanity. But today, it's been transformed by Sam Altman into this massive commercial giant. We're talking approaching $1 trillion valuation, gearing up for a massive IPO, and pursuing data center expansions that could cost hundreds of billions of dollars. Musk sued them, seeking $150 billion in damages and trying to get Altman removed. But the jury ended up ruling against Musk. And importantly, it wasn't necessarily because his facts were wrong, it was because the statute of limitations had passed. Basically, he just waited too long to cry foul.
The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that AI giants are not charities. This verdict was a huge win for Microsoft and Sam Altman because it removed a massive cloud of uncertainty over their heads. This is a fierce, ruthless competition now. I mean, at a recent AI summit in India, rival CEOs literally refused to even hold hands for a quick photo. They are fighting tooth and nail for market share. They're fighting to be the one trusted commercial partner for global enterprises. Honestly, they're fighting to become a verb in popular culture, just like Google it.
Okay, moving to Section 2. Navigating the AI regulatory paradox, U.S. ironies versus Chinese strategy.
There is a deeply fascinating irony happening in U.S. regulation right now. Take the AI company Anthropic, for example. Impartially speaking, we're seeing a really strange dynamic unfold. On one hand, the Trump administration declared Anthropic a supply chain and security risk. But then, on the other hand, Anthropic itself recently had to step up and act like a private regulator. They convened this super exclusive group of tech companies for a project they called Mythos, trying to identify global vulnerabilities in banking, utilities, and weapons before they can be exploited. So you have the White House actively driving rapid commercialization while simultaneously dealing with demands from within the MAGA base, like Steve Bannon, who are calling for rigorous pre-flight safety testing of these models. It's an incredibly fragmented landscape.
Now compare that directly with China's strategy. While the U.S. approach is fragmented and reactive, often leaving these private companies to basically act as their own regulators, the Chinese strategy is totally different. Beijing is firmly in the driver's seat here. They view AI from a top-down, proactive perspective. They manage it as a key strategic industry that's deeply tied to national security and overall citizen well-being. They really don't view regulation as something that slows down development. They see it as a necessary tool to actually steer society.
And we have to talk about how this U.S. fragmentation is impacting everyday people. Just think about this number, 70%. According to a recent Axios poll, 70% of Americans believe AI is moving too fast. Negative views of AI have literally doubled in just 3 years. The public is watching these massive commercially driven companies effectively write their own rules. And frankly, they are terrified. And that fear, it is heavily, heavily concentrated among the youth. Only 18% of young people say they feel hopeful about AI. Why is that? Well, it all comes down to profound economic insecurity. Just imagine being a young person today, stepping out of university, saddled with six-figure student debt. You need an entry-level, white-collar job immediately just to survive. But then you have tech CEOs writing op-eds predicting the absolute wipeout of those exact white-collar jobs within 18 months. For this generation, AI is not some fun little tool to help with homework. It's a direct threat to their ability to afford a home or start a family.
And that brings us right back to our opening. That is exactly why those students at the graduation were booing. It's like turkeys voting against Christmas. They clearly see what's coming. So what does this all mean for the trillion-dollar tech giants? Why should they care if people are mad? Because this severe PR crisis directly threatens their physical operations. It's a chain reaction. Negative public sentiment means local communities actively fight back and block planning applications. And if communities block those applications, AI companies literally cannot build the massive data centers or connect to the massive power grids they desperately need. At the end of the day, losing the public's trust leads to restricted compute power. If they lose this PR battle, their entire growth model hits a brick wall.
This brings us to Section 3, the global AI chip war, and the race for silicon independence. To fully grasp this battle, we have to zoom out to the geopolitical stage. Think about the recent summit in Beijing between President Trump and President Xi, and the physical hardware, the actual silicon that powers this whole thing. Let's trace how we got here. Back in 2018, during Trump's first term, he escalated restrictions on Chinese tech giants like Huawei, cutting off their access to advanced manufacturing. Fast forward to 2024, and the US actually approves limited sales of Nvidia's highly advanced H200 chips to Chinese firms. But today, the Chinese firms are basically saying, yeah, no thanks. It's incredibly ironic. Those earlier export restrictions taught Beijing a very harsh lesson. Any dependence on American tech is a huge strategic vulnerability. They've had years of warning now, and they are fully dedicated to building their own self-reliant AI tech stack.
The strategic divide here is just massive. The US ecosystem, which is obviously led by Nvidia, relies on maintaining compute dominance with top-tier hardware like the H200 and the newer Blackwell chips, all paired with their CUDA software. But China's strategy? Total self-reliance. They are turning down those approved H200 chips because they don't just want to buy a single component anymore. They are building an entire interconnected domestic ecosystem from the ground up, using their own hardware like Huawei Ascend and their own software like DeepSeek. And honestly, they're making stunning progress. Seeing DeepSeek v4 running natively on Huawei's Ascend platform is a highly symbolic, major milestone. See, China's distinct advantage is that they are incredibly good at working within design constraints. Because they were cut off from massive US compute power, they were forced to get scrappy. They had to find extreme efficiencies, optimizing their algorithms and software to achieve world-leading models on less capable hardware. They are proving that winning at AI isn't just about who has the biggest, best engine. It's about how elegantly the entire system is coordinated.
Now, this poses a massive threat to the current leaders. Nvidia's dominance isn't just about their hardware. Their CUDA software ecosystem commands an astonishing 85% of the market share. It's a near monopoly. But by successfully moving away from Nvidia's ecosystem entirely to run these top-tier models, China is posing a legitimate, systemic threat to that 85% dominance. The idea that you can cripple China's AI development simply by restricting chips, that ship has completely sailed. So we're left looking at a landscape that is shifting at absolutely breakneck speed. You've got CEOs fighting tooth and nail in courtrooms just to secure market share. You have a terrified public staring down massive economic displacement, threatening to block the very power grids the AI needs to survive. And you have global superpowers locked in an intense race for total supply chain independence. As these corporate, social, and geopolitical battlegrounds violently collide, who will ultimately control the architecture of the future? Keep that question in mind as you watch this space develop. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the systems being built around you. Catch you next time.